Chelsea. I'm an advocate with the Friendship Center, but I'm also a co-facilitator of our support group that we provide here called STAND, Survivors Taking a New Direction. And we've had a lot of folks call lately and say, man, I'm really missing my group, and we miss you guys too. And so, as a part of just the new way we're adjusting to life due to COVID-19, not being able to gather in groups, the Friendship Center really wants to provide this service for folks that are still needing a little extra support, resources, encouragement, and a distraction. So, this is our new normal, and we are just going to try to embrace that. So let me tell you a little more about STAND, Survivors Taking a New Direction. It's an educational-based group that usually meets every Tuesday from 1 to 2, and childcare is provided, but the group rotates through topics every 6 weeks. So week 1 is always domestic violence, week 2 is always sexual assault, and so we have safety planning, healthy relationships, coping skills, and self-care. So information discussed is rotated. So what we may have discussed week 1 of domestic violence, the session before is going to be different from the next session. So, we may have viewed a video on a survivor story and then talked about it. In the next session, we might talk about statistics around domestic violence. And so we just rotate through the information. So it allows individuals to kind of come and go from each group that is specific to their situation. So, maybe you want to come and attend, week 1 domestic violence and week 3 safety planning, and maybe the last week of self-care. And you want to sit out for the week of 2 sexual assault. That just, it doesn't apply to you, or it's not something you feel you want to deal with right now, and so that's okay. So we tailor it that way, so the information is just yours to take for your personal situation. All right, so let's dive into our first video, week 1, domestic violence. We're going to start really basic here with what is domestic violence, what is domestic abuse. And so we know it's a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to gain power and control over another partner. So those behaviors can consist of isolation, verbal abuse and put downs, not taking responsibility for your actions. So that person's always making you feel like it's your fault. Apologies usually come with a but if you get an apology at all. Ignoring boundaries, so you're being made to do things that you didn't want to do and you've said you didn't want to do them. Forced sex or coerced sex. Controlling behaviors, so you're not allowed to go certain places, be with certain people. You're timed when you do go those places, or maybe that person has access to your phone 24/7. Maybe you agreed to it and maybe you didn't. And then so threats of physical violence or actual violence. And so that can consist of anything from not letting you leave the home or like barricading you in somewhere. That can be intimidating and make you feel fear, throwing things at you, or banging someone's hands on the table, all meant to make you feel afraid in order to control you and establish power. So that we know that more than ever, people are feeling this right now, being isolated. There is a heightened sense of awareness and paranoia, and people experiencing job loss, struggling financially, not being able to use the same outlets that we used to, like the gym or going to a friend's house or a family member's house, or to the grocery store without feeling scared, right? So these are things that we're all feeling right now in quarantine, but if you are living with an abuser, you are feeling this even more, and maybe just an extra layer of stress and probably danger, right? So it's important to know that there is help out there, and that the Friendship Center is still open and we still want to provide services and we still want to help you. So the first resource I'm going to share today is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and it's a website. So it's called www.thehotline.org, and it's a really great resource for those of you out there that want to take a look at it. It just has so many different things on it, but the two things I want to highlight today, one being if you click the Healthy Relationships tab and then click to the relationship spectrum, if you click on that, it's a really great and concise way that depicts relationships exist on a spectrum. So healthy relationship, unhealthy relationship, to abusive relationships. And like I said, so we know relationships exist on a spectrum and it's different for everybody. And I think it's a really great resource. If you are in isolation right now and, things could be getting tense and more stressful for folks and you're wondering, is this just the stress? Is this just COVID-19? Is this normal? Is this going to turn ugly? Should I be putting up with this? Am I safe? If you're asking all of these questions, this page could help you clarify, what is normal, what's kind of drifting into unhealthy, and what is actually abusive. So just for example, I'll read you, it has a whole thing on communicating. So in a healthy relationship, communication looks like you talk openly about your problems and listen to one another, and you respect each other's opinions. So if you're in a relationship, you know that that's not always the case. Even if it's a healthy relationship, you know that sometimes you get frustrated and you need a minute, or you say something you wish you wouldn't have. In those situations, communication looks like, okay, I need 20 minutes or I need a day to think about this. Can you please leave me alone? And you're communicating that you need time, and then your partner respects that. So that's healthy communication, even under different or hard circumstances. And then so in the unhealthy relationship, not communicating is what happens. So the problems arise, and then you fight about those problems and you don't discuss them at all. So there's no coming to the table and negotiating. It's immediately explosive or emotional, and nothing gets resolved, and communication is non-existent or very hard. So in an abusive relationship, communication is done in a way that is hurtful, threatening, insulting, or demeaning. So it means that your boundaries are not respected, your thoughts are not respected. Someone is telling you how it's going to be, how you're going to live, how you should react, how you should feel, and that's abusive, and not okay. So yeah, I think you guys could really benefit from it. I mean, there's so many things here, from communicating, respect, trust, honesty, equality, having your own personal time, which is really important right now, right? And then, making mutual decisions in the bedroom with your sex life, and from economic and financial decisions. So it's awesome. Check it out. And the second thing I want to highlight is underneath the resources tab. And it's a little thing that just drops down and says victims and survivors. And they have a list of books there for those of you, people that have survived domestic violence related to that. And I know that folks today have some extra time on their hands, and it could also be another way to provide some of that support to you. So some good reads, some good options there to help you feel supported and validated in this time. All right. So the second thing I want to cover in this domestic violence session is a New York Times article that we had actually shared, the Friendship Center had shared on our Facebook page, about a month ago now. And it's a really great article. It's called, in her words, For abused women, a pandemic lockdown holds dangers of its own. So it's about domestic violence and how it exists in a normal environment, and now how it's existed under COVID conditions. So I like the article because it gives a lot of great statistics out there. It tells a lot about how um, you know some myths that are out there that misunderstandings that people have about domestic violence. So that's why I like it. It's also a quick read. It won't take up much of your time, 5 or 10 minutes. Um, it's not very long at all. And, unfortunately, it does talk about how some survivor programs, support services for survivors, and shelters are shut down. And I just want to say we are so fortunate right now in Helena, Montana, that we are still able to serve our clients, victims, and survivors. And it looks a little different the way we're serving folks, but we are still here to help. So, for those of you that have been affected by domestic abuse or are currently being affected by that, I want to let you know that that is not something you deserve, and it's not something that's okay, and that there is help out there. I would encourage you to call the Friendship Center and ask to speak with an advocate. We're here to listen. We are here to safety plan. We are here to support you however we can. So I'm going to list that number below along with our website. Well, you're on our website, so hopefully. But just for those of you that, maybe have limited time or whatever, our number is 406-442-6800. And again, we are here to help you. And so for the rest of you, help us stay up and running, help us stay healthy by washing your hands, taking precautions, and staying home, etc., etc. I just really appreciate those of you that chose to tune in today, and I hope you found this helpful and supportive. Stay safe and have a great rest of your week.